This is the Velos, the fifth Fletcher class destroyer added to World of Warships Legends, and this updates campaign ship. So today we're going to talk through a game with it, talk about its highlights, its lowlights, and all of that. So if that sounds good, make sure you stick around. But before you do that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's dive on in. Now, Velos is interesting. I think one of the big complaints I have heard from so many people is, why do we have a Fletcher at tier 8? Well, folks, we've had Fletcher at tier 8. We've had Chung Mu for how long? Fletchers at tier 8 can work. However, Velos does have some unique quirks and features that make it maybe not the best ship to go out on the water with. So the first one, and probably the most obvious, is going to be its armament. If you noticed, we are missing both one turret and one torpedo rack compared to Chung Mu or pretty much any of the other Fletchers in the game, bringing us down to 4 of those American 127mm guns and only one quintuple rack of torpedoes. And this isn't the worst thing to begin with, because the weapons aren't too bad. They just aren't now the best. As we're going to start to engage our fellow Velos over here, and you're going to see when played properly, the guns are perfectly serviceable. They kind of maintain the same attributes that the regular American 127s maintain, with their floaty arcs, their moderate damage. We do have a boosted rate of fire compared to the other Fletchers, 2.2 seconds, which does make the DPM somewhat serviceable for what Velos is, but it does not make it the hardcore cap contester that Fletcher is, as we kind of easily end up taking down the Velos there. And we're going to go ahead and dodge these torpedoes and squeeze on by. And speaking of the torpedoes, let's go talk about them, because they are the other, I'm going to say, pretty powerful element of the Velos, and kind of almost the better half of the two weapons, just given just how resistant a lot of the ships that you are going to get in contact with at this tier are kind of resistant to 127mm guns. Those torpedoes, as we said earlier, they're in 1.5 or quintuple launcher. They do a surprisingly large amount of damage, 19,033, 10.5 kilometer range, 6-second reload, and 66 knots. So overall, a very serviceable torpedo kind of system. Mind you, you are not having the best as far as output, because you do only have one rack, but you get a nice hybridization between the American torpedoes, of which the Fletcher is an American boat, and the pan-European style of torpedoes, which that is what this ship is classified as a pan-European vessel. So that's all nice. You can see we have this Yamato pushing out here. We're going to go ahead and dump the torps within his path. I'm not too concerned about that Heisen that we saw earlier, just because it looked like he was AFK, and my desire is hopefully we can eliminate this Yamato, and then if that Heisen is still AFK, we can go ahead and line up a torp run on him. With all that said, let's go ahead and go over our build with the Velos, and we are actually running Conrad Helfrich. I found his combination of skills best suited the Velos, and oh, hello there, Heisen. Please enjoy this sequence as we scurry away from this Heisen and utilize our build, which is probably the only reason we end up winning this engagement here, because, well, Conrad Helfrich's last skill allows for a buff for the both main guns and torpedoes when low on health. And as you can see, we have gotten ourselves nice and low on health as Heisen hits us with the rear guns, and we go ahead and slap him with the majority, if not all, of the torpedoes from our launcher. It is not enough to take him down. That is something you do need to be wary about with the Velos, is you don't have a ton of alpha strike within those tubes, so don't expect to be dev striking ships all the time. With that said, let's go ahead and cover our Helfrich build. So we are running Sims in Eric Bay. Sims because you need every bit of health you can get. This is a low health Fletcher. You're going to want as much health as you can possibly get. Then we are also running Eric Bay for the concealment. Our base trait we are running is Vesperate. That's just Connor X base trait. Then we are running Burn It Down XXL, just try to get a little bit of a fire chance. Like we said earlier, the guns aren't exactly the most powerful at this tier. You're really only going to be effective against certain ships because a lot of the larger battleships have enough plating now pretty much all over to very much resist those guns from an HE standpoint. So bringing up your fire chance to 7% helps a little. It's not much. You don't get a ton of fires, but it helps you get at least a little bit of extra damage here and there. Then we're running Look At Me Now to help with concealment because this destroyer is one that needs concealment. Then Velocious, and I think this is kind of the key build for Velos, is its high speed. This is where the utility comes in with Velos. As you can see, we have an engine boost. Base, we are getting about 41 knot top speed. With the engine boost, you can see we are up to like 45 knots, which is very effective. That makes it a very fast destroyer, and I think that's one of the few traits that you can boost up that makes this ship relatively responsive to the game. And that's probably the best thing it can do. Like that is about its best skill overall. Then we have Stand or Fall, which is going to buff both your main battery reload and your torpedo reload for every bit of health you lose, which is very helpful. And then we are running Unstoppable because we need engine in this boat. So that's the commander. As far as the mod slots go, we are running Aiming System Mod 1, Prop Mod, Concealment, and Main Battery Mod 3. As you can see us attempt to get some hits on the small end over here, but American floaty shells, they not exactly the most accurate at range. As far as utility goes, its consumables, we of course have the damage control party. Then we do get 3 American smokes, which are very nice. They're very useful. You're going to end up using those a lot. Then we have the engine boost, which 8% overall boost, not exactly the best, but like I said, it gets us up to 45 knots, which makes us somewhat useful as a destroyer, as a scout. And then finally, we have defensive AA, and I know what you're thinking. You're like, Tommy, we have defensive AA. Of course, this is an anti-aircraft destroyer. It is not. AA base damage, when all totaled up within 4 kilometers, is 110 damage per second. With the AA boost, it's going to bring it up to 330, which is respectable for the time that there's aircraft, but don't think you're going to be shooting down and taking on a carrier with Velos. So, with all the stats out of the way, what are my thoughts? Velos is close to being a usable ship, but I think it's very much locked in being mid. Fletchers can be useful, right? Fletchers absolutely can be up at tier 8. They can be up tiered, but they need the consumables in order to be effective at the tier, and Velos doesn't have it, right? Chungmu, you can get the torpedo reload booster. I believe you can get a radar on it. Like, there are useful things on Chungmu that make it worth being a tier 8 Fletcher. Velos, on the other hand, what does it have? It has high speed, which is unique and nice, and it makes it a different flavor, but I don't know if it really is there 100% of the way, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but Velos actually has a sonar bulb modeled onto its model. Like, it has a sonar bulb, which none of the other Fletchers have. This one has one, but we don't get sonar. Like, I think this is one of those times where there could have been other decisions made that, if they've made this a pan-European sort of Loyang, I think it could have been very effective, but that's not what we got. And as a result, it does struggle to win out more than one destroyer match, and then after that, you're kind of useless other than being a torp boat. But guys, that is the Velos. The campaign is sort of worth it just because of the prizes you get along the way in the drachma, but overall, don't be buying it for Velos. Guys, if you like videos like this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.